A broken design. Slow, awkward, and seemingly stupid. That's what most people usually think when they see an ocean sunfish, or mola mola. With a body flattened like a plate and a brain no larger than a walnut, this animal should, in theory, have been eliminated by natural selection millions of years ago. So why does it still exist? It's reproduction. A single female sunfish can release up to 300 million eggs in one spawning event, more than any other vertebrate on Earth. In sheer numbers, that's roughly equivalent to releasing the entire population of the United States into the ocean in a single reproductive period. They don't need to be fast or smart. They only need to ensure that no matter how many are eaten, some will survive. But this staggering number is only the surface of the story. To understand how a creature that begins life smaller than a grain of sand can grow into a 2-ton giant, 4,000 pounds, and persist for millions of years, we must examine the internal mechanisms that power it. Mechanisms that seem to defy many of the ocean's physical rules. When observing a sunfish for the first time, the strongest visual impression that any biologist must admit is the severe lack of standard fish parts. They look as if a normal fish was cut in half right behind the dorsal fin, and the back half simply vanished. This apparent deficiency, however, is not a random accident of nature, nor a rare deformity. Rather, it is the outcome of evolutionary process that has shortened the spine to an extreme degree. The sunfish belongs to the order of Tetradonantiforms, a group known for unusually shaped bodies such as boxfish and triggerfish. While many of its relatives evolved defensive spines or the ability to inflate their bodies, the sunfish lineage appears to have taken a different evolutionary route, one defined by extreme spinal minimalism. Over millions of years, the number of vertebrae was reduced to an absolute minimum, fewer than in any other known ocean fish. Scientists suggest this reduction lowers body density and conserves energy that would be otherwise spent growing and maintaining a heavy, calcium-rich skeleton. One of the most direct consequences of this process is the complete loss of a true tail fin. In aquatic locomotion, the tail serves as the primary engine, generating thrust and enabling directional control. In sunfish, however, the tail fin degenerates during embryonic development. In its place, the dorsal and anal fins extend backward and fuse, forming a stiff, fleshy arc at the rear of the body. This structure is known as the calvus, or pseudo-tail. Unlike a true tail, the calvus does not generate active thrust. Instead, it functions as a passive, rigid rudder that stabilizes the body rather than propelling it forward. Without a tail, this animal moves in a completely different way. Instead of body waves traveling down the spine like in salmon or sharks, propulsion follows an entirely separate design. The sunfish is unable to employ this mechanism due to its short, rigid spinal structure. Instead, it moves by synchronously flapping its elongated dorsal and anal fins. These fins function as a pair of vertical wings. When the dorsal fin sweeps to one side, the anal fin mirrors the same motion. This coordinated movement generates lift in a manner comparable to how penguins fly underwater, though along a vertical rather than horizontal axis. Although the movement appears clumsy, hydrodynamic simulations indicate this is not an evolutionary error. Researchers suggest it is an energy-efficient mode of travel for such a massive animal, allowing steady cruising over long distances without excessive muscular effort. The sunfish doesn't need bursts of speed to hunt, it needs endurance to drift. Beneath its unusual appearance lies a form of sophisticated biological armor. Unlike most bony fish with true scales, sunfish bodies are encrusted in a thick layer of tissue, known as a hypodermis. which in large individuals can reach thicknesses of up to 6 inches. This tissue is neither fat nor muscle. It consists of a dense matrix of collagen and elastin, producing exceptional toughness and elasticity comparable to the structure of heavy-duty rubber. The outer surface is coated with a slippery mucus and has a rough, sandpaper-like texture, forming a protective barrier around vital organs concentrated at the front of the body. The most remarkable function of this skin, however, may be its role in buoyancy regulation. One of the primary challenges faced by large marine organisms is maintaining stable positioning within the water column, while repeatedly transitioning between surface waters and depths of several hundred to thousands feet. Most fish address this challenge using a swim bladder, a gas-filled organ that adjusts buoyancy. Gas, however, compresses under increasing pressure and expands as pressure decreases, making rapid depth charges energetically costly and potentially dangerous. The sunfish appears to have resolved this issue by eliminating the swim bladder entirely in adulthood. According to prevailing hypothesis, it instead relies on a form of hydraulic buoyancy, based on body tissues. The hypodermis is composed largely of water and exhibits a gelatinous consistency. Liquids and solids are nearly incompressible. As a result, whether the sunfish descends to depths of hundreds of meters or remains near the surface, its overall body volume and density remain relatively constant. This may allow it to move freely within the water column, without expending energy to counter pressure changes, effectively functioning as a biological submarine. However, possessing a body that is largely invariant to pressure may come at the cost of reduced reflexive flexibility, a rigidity that appears to extend to the nervous system as well. When examining the brain-to-body mass ratio, the sunfish ranks among the lowest of all vertebrates. An adult individual can weigh up to 5,000 pounds, roughly 2.5 short tons. Yet its brain weighs less than 5 grams. The spinal cord is also extremely short, terminating just behind the brain and branching into peripheral nerves throughout the body. Scientists propose that this is not necessarily an indicator of cognitive deficiency, but rather an adaptation for energy efficiency. The brain is one of the most metabolically expensive organs in the body. For a species that spends much of its life drifting with ocean currents and consuming prey, with limited escapability, maintaining a complex nervous system may provide little evolutionary advantage. The outcome of this neurological minimalism is a notably slow response to an external stimuli. Sunfish often appear indifferent to nearby divers, showing little inclination to flee or defend themselves, as though operating in a prolonged power-saving mode. This combination of minimalist neural architecture and unconventional locomotion produces an organism that is remarkably durable. Yet it raises a fundamental energetic question. How does such a slow-moving animal sustain itself in an ocean defined by intense competition? In an ocean ecosystem where speed often decides who eats and who gets eaten, the ocean sunfish chooses a different path, becoming specialists in the sea's leftovers. In other words, they exploit a food source that most predators ignore or reject, a strategy that may be clever or perhaps simply the only option left. Their main menu consists of jellyfish, siphonophores, salps, and gelatinous plankton. Nutritionally, jellyfish are a paradoxical choice. Their bodies are 95% water, extremely poor in calories and protein. Eating jellyfish is almost like drinking seawater to find nutrition. To maintain a massive body mass of several thousand pounds on a diet that is essentially water, the sunfish is forced to adopt a quantity over quality strategy. They are bottomless gluttons. An adult sunfish must consume hundreds of pounds of jellyfish, equivalent to thousands of individuals, every single day just to meet basic metabolic needs. This requires them to move constantly, scanning vast areas of the ocean to find dense clouds of drifting jellyfish. Their feeding mechanism is also specialized for this diet. The sunfish's mouth is tiny compared to its body, and permanently unable to close due to a fused jaw structure, a genetic trait inherited from their pufferfish ancestors. Their teeth have fused into a hard beak. They cannot tear apart prey from the outside like a shark. Instead, sunfish rely on a pressure-based suction mechanism. As they approach a jellyfish, they expand the mouth and throat cavity, creating a low-pressure zone that draws the prey in. However, swallowing a jellyfish whole is not the end. Jellyfish have a tough texture and are bulky. To process this massive food, the sunfish possesses a secret weapon deep in its throat, invisible to the naked eye. Detailed anatomy reveals that right behind the mouth cavity are pharyngeal teeth that do not grow on the jaws but on the gill arches in the throat. Shaped like sharp backward curving claws, they act as a slow but effective biological wood chipper. As the jellyfish is sucked in, the pharyngeal teeth shred and pulverize the prey's body structure before pushing it down to the stomach. This process ensures the maximum surface area of food is exposed to digestive juices, helping the fish absorb every bit of the meager nutrition available. The sunfish's digestive system also has to work at extreme capacity to filter out excess water and retain organic matter. This is a brutal energy conversion process. They must spend energy to hunt and digest a massive amount of food just to gain enough calories to barely stay alive. That's why they swim slowly, sacrificing speed to maintain size and survival. Constantly moving through different water layers to feed, from the warm surface down to the cold depths where jellyfish gather, not only provides energy, but also leads to another trouble. Their large, wrinkled, and slow-moving bodies inadvertently become an ideal surface for uninvited guests to latch onto, creating a complex ecological relationship. However, in the ocean, no meal is completely free. When a creature exploits resources from the environment, it eventually becomes a part of that resource chain itself. Before we discover who's freeloading on the back of this giant, let's establish a sustainable, symbiotic relationship. Hit like and subscribe. You get more knowledge, and I get more motivation to decode the next mysteries. Right now, let's visit the busiest and most bustling hotel in the ocean, located right on the rough skin. A less poetic truth about the sunfish is that, by biological hygiene standards, they are extremely dirty. Their thick, folded skin and heavy mucus production creates an ideal environment for parasites. To marine parasites, a sunfish is essentially a nutrient-rich floating island. Scientists have identified more than 50 parasite species living on and inside a single sunfish. These include copepods, feeding on mucus and blood, parasitic worms and internal organs, and even larvae of other fish species. Parasite density can become so extreme that a rare phenomenon has been observed. Parasites themselves become hosts, called hyperparasitism. A miniature food web unfolds on the back of a living animal. Their body becomes a free hotel, drifting in the ocean. However, parasites aren't entirely a bad thing for the ocean ecosystem. In fact, they inadvertently turn the sunfish into a roaming ecosystem service. As they move, small fish often follow to eat falling parasites, or pick directly at the skin to clean it. This creates a symbiosis. The sunfish feeds others in exchange for cleaning. This heavy parasite load leads to one of the species' strangest and most famous behaviors: sunbathing. The name sunfish comes directly from this habit. When a sunfish drifts flat at the surface, many assume it's sick or dying, but in reality, according to scientists, this is a calculated survival behavior of two main scientific purposes. The first purpose is thermoregulation. Sunfish are ectotherms, meaning their body temperatures depend on the water's environment. However, many of their favorite food sources, especially large jellyfish, often live at depths of 650 to nearly 2,000 feet. At this depth, water temperatures can drop below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Long foraging dives into these cold layers gradually lower the sunfish's body temperature, slowing metabolism and muscle formation. After resurfacing, they often lie sideways at the surface, absorbing sunlight and warmth. This behavior is widely interpreted as a way to passively absorb heat, restoring physiological function before the next deep dive. The second purpose is hygiene. When lying flat on the surface, the sunfish exposes part of its body to the air. This action is a signal inviting seabirds like albatrosses to swoop down. These birds will peck and eat the parasites clinging to the slimy skin, exposed to the air. Meanwhile, below the surface, cleaner fish can easily access and pick the lower half of the body clean. It's a full-service spa in nature. The sunfish gets cleaned, reducing the risk of infection and skin damage caused by parasites. Seabirds and small fish get a full meal, a perfect collaboration. From eating to cleaning, every behavior of the sunfish serves the goal of individual survival. But in a vast ocean full of danger, the effort of a single individual is still too fragile. For this species not to go extinct over millions of years, they need a macro strategy, a strategy that lies in overwhelming statistical numbers. Alright, fed, cleaned, and fully serviced. Now the ocean sunfish faces the ultimate task of life: reproduction. Let's go back to that shocking number from the beginning: 300 million eggs. In ecology, this is the classic and most extreme example of our selection strategy, where an organism invests all resources into quantity rather than quality of offspring. In contrast to whales or sharks, which have few offspring and care for them carefully, K-selection strategy, the mother sunfish does not raise her young, nor does she protect her eggs. She releases millions of seed of life into the ocean and leaves them entirely to the currents and fate. This strategy relies on a brutal truth of nature. I know it's hard to hear, but the reality is, 99.99% of these eggs and larvae will become food for other creatures as soon as they hatch. They are a massive nutrient source for the lower ecological tier of the ocean. But by the laws of statistical probability, this industrial-scale sacrifice ensures that, no matter how high the mortality rate, there will always be a few survivors to continue the life cycle. Just 1 or 2 individuals out of these 300 million eggs reach adulthood is enough to keep the population stable. These rare survivors will undergo one of the most miraculous transformations in the animal kingdom. When they first hatch, sunfish larvae look nothing like their giant parents. They are as small as a grain of sand, round, and encased in a transparent spiked shell for defense. This is a clear genetic remnant of their pufferfish ancestors, those who use spikes for defense. At this stage, they even have a normal tail fin and swim agilely like other fish. From that modest size of less than 0.04 ounces, they begin a frantic race for growth. To reach an average adult weight of about 4,000 pounds, a sunfish must increase its body weight by 60 million times. To put that into perspective, it's equivalent to a newborn baby growing into an aircraft carrier. Rapid growth is the second key to survival. In the ocean, size is the best shield. During their early life stages, sunfish are highly vulnerable and easily targeted by a wide range of predatory fish. However, once they reach adulthood, their enormous body mass combined with a thick, highly elastic skin means that most marine predators are unable to bite through this tough exterior or swallow such a massive body. Except for a few apex predators such as killer whales, great whites, and a sea lion. At this size, sunfish effectively become massive biological structures, drifting slowly through the open ocean, protected primarily by their own bulk. The combination of extremely high reproductive output and rapid growth creates a robust biological insurance strategy that has allowed this species to persist over evolutionary timescales. Yet this biological success does not make sunfish perfect organisms. They remain slow-moving animals in an ocean that is now changing faster than ever under human influence. The sunfish is living proof that evolution does not aim for aesthetic beauty or perfection by human engineering standards. It aims for suitability and efficiency in a specific context. A bizarre body to save energy on long trips, a minimalist brain to reduce caloric drain on the nervous system, a diet exploiting endless resources that others reject, and a reproductive strategy that uses quantity to overwhelm risk. All those features that seem like design flaws, when combined, create a durable biological machine, occupying a unique ecological niche that no other species can compete with. While many faster and smarter fish have gone extinct, the sunfish calmly drift through the oceans, carrying millions of years of evolutionary history on its back. Evolutionary biology has shown one simple thing. In nature's brutal game of survival, the winner is not necessarily the smartest or the strongest, but the most stubborn and the best adapted to its limitations. And the sunfish, well, be that a genius hidden under a guise of clumsiness, a lumbering giant of the sea.